What is up, Waffle Gang? I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some r/relationships. And if you'd like to skip the initial waffle, timestamps are in the description and along the timeline below. But if you are new here, please consider hitting that like, that subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's jump straight in to today's stories. Much love, guys. Now, our first story comes from a throwaway account, and it's called I think my 30 male wife, 30 female, is becoming attracted to her boss, and he is reciprocating her affection. What should I do to tackle this issue? My wife started a job over a year ago at a small game company. She was ecstatic to get a real job where she could make an impact as a game designer. She got promoted to lead game designer a little while ago and is incredibly happy to be in charge of much of the project with lots of folks working underneath her. Ever since she started, she's been working very closely with the CEO of the company. Some background on this guy: he's foreign, tall, charismatic, rich and cultured. He's roughly 50 and is still relatively fit, plays hockey as a hobby. He drives a top-of-the-line Tesla, lives in a very large and beautiful home, and he lavishes the office with fancy tech and regular meals and gifts. She frequently comes home and tells me about his personal life, his wife, his stepkids. As well, she tells me about how he's been making $400,000+ since he was 20. She also regularly mentions how nice his house is and has been bringing up the idea of us upgrading to a larger house for the dogs. I hear about how this guy has basically been printing money from one business to the next and how he rides the stock market like a high roller. My wife also gets upset if her boss doesn't like her ideas. She'd be in a rut about it for a couple of days or so, and I can see how grumpy she gets. It weighs on her if she's not in his good graces. At the same time, she does think he's a bit silly sometimes with his requests for how the game should be. Sometimes she disagrees with his decisions, and I make a comment like, "That sounds dumb," and she gets defensive of him. Goes from, "I think his ideas are questionable," to, "Why are you attacking my boss all of a sudden?" That was my red flag number one. She's being protective of him, just because I agreed with her. It really didn't escalate past that for a while. Then she started buying new clothes, nothing terribly fancy. She's one of the managers, she might be trying to dress the part. Could be a warning flag though. I even suggested she may want to buy new clothes as a manager, so not super weird. They were professional and appropriate for the office, so I'm not super worried. Then she bought Vagisil body wash, a genital cleaning product for the shower. She doesn't take impromptu showers or anything when she comes home from work, but that was a bit odd. She told me I should use it on myself to clean my dick. I thought that was odd. I am very thorough with my genital cleaning, use a loofah, sometimes take 2 showers a day if it's hot out and I'm sweaty. I'm not a smelly guy by any measure, so it was an odd suggestion. This wasn't super odd, but if you add all of these things together, might be a variable. Then we got invited over to her boss's house for dinner. I met some of her co-workers, a friend of the boss who owns a brewery, etc. They seemed nice. The boss dropped that he was making $400,000 a year when he was 20-something in the first real conversation we had. I couldn't help but be reminded of my family's advice. My family is not poor by any measure, that rich people don't brag how much money they have. They keep it to themselves. The boss has a very nice house, but it wasn't like a super baller rich millionaire home. I make more than 6 figures, and if I wanted to, I could likely afford the mortgage for his home. I don't know, because I already have a nice and fairly large home and prefer to live within my means so that my wife and I can not only travel whenever we want, but also be financially dependent by the time we are 40. The other thing I noticed and overheard from the conversation is that boss's wife hasn't been around for several months. She's away, and the stepkids are all grown up. The boss mentioned he gets his better behaviors from his wife as he was entertaining us, but he also mentioned to his brewery friend that he was lonely in the empty house. After that weekend dinner, the following week my wife came home with some new dresses and whatnot. These were a bit higher quality than anything she would normally buy. Her family had to work for everything they have, so she can be a bit thrifty on her clothes. She does her hair all the time now, spends a lot of time in front of the mirror before going to work, and these new dresses readily show a healthy spoonful of cleavage. These kind of dresses are the kind she used to wear when we were dating. She switched to more comfortable clothes after we got married. Then, most recently, she asked if I wanted to go out for dinner. We went to our local pub, had a good meal, chatted, then she brought up a question. Do you want to go to Spain? It turned out her boss had asked if she and I would go to Spain with him on a work trip. Apparently her boss had suggested I come along or else it might be weird. No one else except some co-worker who already lives in Spain will be with us. The trip is supposed to be sightseeing locations they want to put into the game. But my wife admitted that her boss had wanted to go to Spain on his last vacation only a couple of weeks ago, and this was his excuse to go there. She also then hinted that it might be a bit boring at times as we explore through random locations, looking at how they would fit into the game. It felt like she was sort of trying to deter me from going. Instead of agreeing, I said no, I wouldn't mind going to Spain, it would be fun. I asked, do small game studios usually do all expenses paid travel to design game levels? She replied, oh yeah, it's actually super common. I've read that a lot of folks are even saying it should be done more and involve the entire design team, even the 3D artists. I was told the company had lots of money and could afford to do this. In my head, I'm thinking to myself that even if this is all normal, this is going to become a recurring thing. This boss has no qualms about up and traveling to various places around the world at any time because he has the money and resources to do so. Apparently, it's a common complaint that he disappears for months sometimes and leaves the game project in a lurch. I'm not 100% comfortable with the fact that this guy who regularly goes out wining, dining, renting yachts and driving fancy cars and visiting exotic locations has decided he wants to take my wife along with him. Could it be research for the game? Sure, maybe. It sounds to me more like he's flaunting his money and taking my young attractive wife along for the ride. I wonder why the boss's wife isn't coming to Spain with him. If you read online, folks will tell you you must trust your wife. And if you have a good relationship, you'll realize that your wife is a boss professional and has to do all the work trips that will involve. I don't think those folks hear their honey going, hey, I'm going to Europe and my boss will be wining and dining me throughout as we explore various beautiful locations, eat lots of food. It will mostly be just us two. I feel like this might be an attempt to upgrade her lifestyle from the boss's end. Not that I would do this, but if I was trying to steal a man's wife and I had a crap ton of money, taking her out on insane vacations seems like a solid plan to win her affection. You hear about this stuff all the time. It starts as they work together closely, and then it's he's so rich and charismatic. But instead of we need to work late, now it's we're going to Spain. All of this despite the fact COVID is still raging across Europe. Don't get me wrong, my wife and I travel the world too. However, this guy's last vacation was taking a private 150-foot yacht with a built-in jacuzzi and fully weighted staff around the Mediterranean for a month, just for fun. They had some folks bail on the trip and no one batted an eye, they just carried on. When we go out to Spain, I feel like it's going to be so cushy and luxurious that it'll make our other vacations pale in comparison. This man's lifestyle isn't something we can hope to compete with. Even if this guy has pure intentions, I don't think it's going to change the fact that this will have to have at least some idealizing effect on my wife for her boss. What should my next steps be in resolving this? Now I've got to admit if I was in OP's position on this one, I wouldn't feel comfortable either. Maybe that's my own insecurity talking here, but it doesn't feel right if someone from the changes OP was explaining through this, you know, her upgrading her clothing and stuff like that. Not that there's anything wrong, you know, everyone should be able to do whatever they want in terms of dressing themselves and stuff like that, but it was just so many little flags along the way that eventually leads going out to the pub and then her dropping this, do you want to come to Spain? And then almost trying to put him off it at the same time. It would raise red flags to me. And I'm not quite sure what I would do in that situation, because if you was to approach wife and say, look, I'm not happy about this, I think there's something further going on, or I think, you know, you have some feelings towards the boss, I think it would end badly and wife would potentially lash out and say, how dare you accuse me of that kind of thing, especially if it hasn't quite reached those levels yet. There may be some sort of the low level flirting going on, so you can't go out and say, look, you have feelings for boss, because it may just get turned around on you and make things even worse. But we will check out the comments on this one to see what they say, with Drawn Autorix who says, have tried talking about it from a don't compete with the Joneses standpoint. I think it could be the easier conversation. Hey, I have noticed that since you've started working with your boss, you started making abrupt changes, and I feel like you're trying to emulate your boss's lifestyle and it confuses me, because I thought we were good in our living situation. Is that changing for you? I'm a Reddit Lady says, in my opinion, this is straight up, sit down and be blunt about your feelings type of conversation. I feel like you're feeling an attraction to this guy, and I want to talk about why. Don't allow her to sidestep, because getting to the bottom of why she's feeling disconnected from you and is connecting with him is very, very important. If you want to continue your marriage, you have to, or you will always wonder, at best and at worst, she cheats. Marida Mesh says, I'm going to be as polite as I can. I'm 32, just for your information. Game designer, more precisely full stack developer. I 100% assure you that not even EA Games do corporate CEO trips with a female manager / lead designer and her husband just to design and build levels for a game, or go on sightseeing trips to get inspiration. We don't do this even with investors or future business partners. Trust me, that's why we have offices. You're being naive. We build stuff from reference pictures and concept art which is created, drawn or made into a model, e.g. clay or plastic in the studio. An architect will not be paid by a company to get inspiration from a trip to Rome when he's building a garage house in Cleveland. Hopefully this makes sense for you. Just being business smart, you're walking into a trap, my friend, and your paranoia is at the right place. This kind of BS is beyond belief. No EA Games, BioWare, Creative Assembly, DICE would do it. The other part to your question comes naturally after this. Make your conclusions. She's your wife. You know best what to do. P.S. I'm from the EU, and there is a huge travel ban here. Body Oil Glass View says, as benign as others will want to make this out to be, there is definitely office tension there. May not have crushed on each other out in the world, but when working on projects and seeing one another all day every day, the Jim and Pam effect occurs. I would make your presence known. I wouldn't say anything outright to your wife, because I have a feeling she'd lash out and get hopped up fast from guilt. I'd 100% go on this trip and would not be talked into coming along on their daily jaunts. I'd enjoy my Spanish getaway, F my wife every day of it, and interrupt and re-steer the conversation if and when the boss over dinner tries to get personal or talk of wingmanning. It's a trap to make her jealous, and she will get jealous, and do everything on his dime. I'd recoup what's come on between them and use that time to try and get my wife alone and rekindle. If she insists on not leaving him out the whole time, you know where her heart is, not where it should be. I'd keep asking though leading up to it, are you sure no one else from the team should be coming? Seems odd to just have your position and his, as I'm sure other key members would benefit. And I think that's some pretty solid advice, but what do you guys make of this one? What do you think is going on? Do you think there's something more? Do you think there's deeper feelings going on here? How would you handle that situation? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and we'll move on to another story. Now, our next story does follow with an update, and it's from OK Professional, and it says, I, 26 female, am struggling to come out to my late husband's parents, 50s. My husband and I started dating when we were in high school, and we were together till he passed away 3 years ago. Their house has been a safe space for me even before we started dating. They have been better parents to me than my biological parents. They are the only family I have. They are kind and wonderful people, however, they both are religious. Family is a huge deal for them, personally and culturally. I really don't know how they would react to me coming out. I've been dating my girlfriend for about a year. I have told them I am dating someone. They are very supportive. They want to meet this person, and I really want to introduce this wonderful woman to them, but I feel incredibly scared to do it. I think they are worried about me pulling away from them. I really can't stand the idea of losing them, but we're planning to move in a few months. She's becoming a bigger and bigger part of my life, and I don't want to hide her. You really don't know how much time you have with people you love, and I hate the idea of staying in the closet. This feels a bit overwhelming to me. I don't know how to handle this, which is embarrassing, as I should have a handle on this by now. I think I kind of understand, well, to a point, OP's feelings here and why they are scared. You know, they just don't want to lose these people, and I know in some ways you'll come into this and say, you know, well, if they do turn against OP because she's coming out, then, you know, should she want them in their lives anyway? But OP thinks of these two people as her parents, so there's some very, very strong feelings there. But I think that would be the way forward in the end. You can't hide girlfriend forever. If it's getting more and more serious, they will have to find out one day. And in the end, like we just said, if they was to turn on you, then while it would really, really hurt, you do have to look after yourself in life sometimes. But before we do move on to the update, we'll cover a couple of comments, and one that says that's a really tough situation. First of all, you shouldn't be embarrassed. Coming out is always hard, but it is extra scary with people that are important to us. Other than that, I don't know how much advice I can give. Have you tried figuring out how they feel about queer people in general? Like if you bring up a neighbor or a friend or something. You could also try to find out where their church stands. Also, not all religious people or churches are homophobic. It sounds like there is a lot of love between you, but in the end, only you can predict the reaction. If you decide to go for it, I think I would too, on your own and not surprise them with a girlfriend. But I would also have someone standing by in case it goes badly and you need emotional support. Maybe you can look up some resources for coming out to religious parents. It sounds like the situation is similar enough. I hope everything goes well for you. And Obedicta says, I haven't seen that name in a while, one thing I would definitely try to do is stress your sexuality. You are not a lesbian, you are bisexual with a preference for men. Part of their concern may be that you are leading their son on. If you can discuss the big four sexualities, gay, straight, bisexual, pansexual, and asexual, with them before you come out so they have a handle on it, that might be useful. You can also see if those associated with their religion have some LGBTQ+ positive figures or churches and bring it up as a casual bit of conversation. And Little Stray says, and quotes, however they are both religious, and says, I think it would be a good idea to seek advice from leaders in their religion, e.g. a priest. You can do this confidentially and figure out what you're up against and how to navigate coming out in a way that understands what their religion says on the subject. Be sure to get the correct subgroup as opinions on topics like this can widely vary within a religion. ETA, it may even be a good idea to have a faith leader present as a mediator, kind of like a therapist would. So if they have any concerns, the faith leader can address them then and there. Now we're going to move on to the update to see what that says. So, update. I received a lot of great advice from the people here. I decided to come out to my sister-in-law. She took it really well and was very supportive. She suggested that she was going over that week and she reassured me they would be mostly fine. She told me about the time when they thought she was queer and they tried to support her in their misguided but still loving way, which is hilarious but also endearing. When she visited them, she apparently laid down hints that I wanted to introduce my partner, but I was scared about how they would react and that they should try to be calm. They reassured her that they would try to be cool. I visited last week. It was awkward and they were waiting for me to say something, but I was feeling incredibly scared. I told them that I had a girlfriend. I was in love with her. We were about to move in together and I wanted them to meet her. They were quiet for a moment. I panicked and told them that I was attracted to men and women and that dating a woman didn't mean what I had with my husband was not real. They told me that as long as I am happy and I was with someone nice, it didn't matter to them who I dated. They wanted to meet her. It feels like a huge burden has been lifted from my back. I am out to all the people that matter to me now. It is amazing. We can only visit them next month as my girlfriend is incredibly busy with work. She is really excited to meet my family. I know they are too. I feel really lucky to have all this wonderful people in my life. Oh God. That one set me off. I love a positive update when, from stories we read, with religion and stuff like that. And I'm not bashing on religion or anything like that. I'm just basing it off previous stories where, where people come out as gay and things like that. And sometimes you get negative responses. And it's always a worry when you get an update and you think, oh, bloody hell, please be positive. And when you finally get that positive, it's like such a relief. And to think that's just happened to someone in the world. Someone is incredibly happy that they've just come out and they get to be themselves to the people that they love. I think that's absolutely fantastic. But what do you guys think about this story? What do you think about the update? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below and your thoughts on both of today's stories. Relationship stories, man. They're much longer than the Am I the Arsehole post. I am sorry, but I do love them as well. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below and I will see you in the next one. Take care, guys. Much love.